Everybody, welcome to Big E's Auto. It's Big E. So yes, we are working on Trainwreck, our resident 7.3 Powerstroke. We're going to be putting an EGT gauge on. The one I had on decided to, lack of a better term, take a shit. So with having to use this to pull a trailer down in Maple Grove, anybody who's familiar of Route 76, that huge hill, I am not going to jeopardize my truck living or dying without an EGT gauge pulling that hill. So, with that being said, the old gauge, which, excuse me, I'm going to go grab it here. The old gauge is jettisoned. We are getting it's a Max Tow EGT gauge. What I like about it, it also has a digital display, which we probably will not see that today, because I don't anticipate getting done. Well, I'm going to put it in one video. It's going to look like I get it done today, but I don't want to have a pipe thread. I have to tap threads into the exhaust because I'm screwed up with the other gauge. I put it post turbo, and that can mess up your let me check on my soldering iron, hang on. That can mess up your temperatures by as much as 400 degrees. So this company, Max Tow, I never even heard of. I did some research. They seem pretty good. I like their gauge because you have both analog and digital readout of your exhaust gas temperature. And if they're saying put it pre-turbo, and I was looking at some other Powerstroke chat boards, and they're pretty much saying the same thing. I mean, you could put it post-turbo. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Just keep in mind you're gonna have to adjust your reading by as much as 300 to 400 degrees. Your reading is going to read 300 to 400 degrees cooler post turbo, and it's not as accurate of a reading. So that's something I have to do. I need an 1/8 inch drill bit, and I need a tap so I can drill the hole pre-turbo, because the one I have now is post turbo. So then I was only letting it get to like 1,050 degrees EGTs. The chat boards I was looking at, they said like 1,300 degrees is safe. You can do 1,400, but only for a couple seconds, or else you're going to have an atomic meltdown. So, but that's of course pre-turbo reading, the 1,300 to 1,400 degrees. So, so I'm going to try and see if I can mount, get the probe pre-turbo. I have to see where I can get to with the drill, and of course to tap the hole for the threads. But right now we're going to work on the electrical. So I got the wires hooked up here. I'm going to go over the colors. There's black, orange, red, and white wires here on let me try and bring it closer here. So you have your orange. That's going to connect it to your dimmer switch. You don't have to hook that up. I may hook that up later. But for right now, you don't need it hooked up. Obviously, black is ground. You have red, which is your constant hot. So I have a wire run right to the battery. I don't have it hooked up yet because obviously I have to solder, do shrink wrap, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do that when there's power already there. So I have the wire tied off at the battery. So I'm going to tap into the battery voltage there. The white wire you see here, which is the 4th wire, is 12 volts ignition, or switched 12 volts. So I have that wire, was pre-existing from the old gauge. So I'm just reusing that for this gauge. So I'm going to go ahead here. I think my iron's hot enough, and we're going to try and solder this and see if we can at least get the electrical side done, and then tomorrow I hopefully can finish it up and we can do the actual make sure you get that wire good and hot. So that way that you actually want the solder to wick down each strand of the wire. You don't want to glob it on the iron. This one's going to be, I kind of screwed up here, maybe not, but what I did was is I used a 12 gauge 12 gauge wire coming off the battery here, and it's only like a small wire that's coming on the wiring harness for the actual gauge. So it's a little bit of overkill, but I have it, the bigger, anybody who knows anything about electrical knows the thicker the wire, the less resistance per foot. So I figured I'm going to use the term ridiculously big wire. I did it on purpose because that way I know I have enough clean power coming for my gauge, even though the wire on the gauge is maybe like an 18 or a 20 gauge wire that's coming off of there. So we got our switch volt, we got our constant 12 volt hot soldered. Now we're going to work on getting our ground done here, which this might be a little more of a challenge because I need like 5 more hands. So I'm going to try and just and my soldering iron probably isn't the best. I should probably have a 60 amp. This is a cheapy 30 amp you get at the hardware store. So therefore that doesn't help either with the fight here. There we go. Now we're getting the wire hot. Of course it slips off. I like to get it fed on the back side yet to really make sure that wire stays. I don't quite like that yet. Come on. Alright. So what I'm going to do now is we have those soldered. So now let's take these, and I put shrink wrap on. I just don't have good luck with making sure my soldering iron isn't starting a fire. I don't have good luck with electrical tape, so I got this shrink wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to slide that over, and then we're going to use a lighter, and we're going to just try to heat that up without it coming through. Something like that. Now, there might need a little bit there yet. Alright, that'll work. So we're just going to follow that throughout here. Hopefully it works out just fine. Little issue here. I should have brought a needle nose, but I think we'll be alright. Yeah, alright. Yeah, it's covering the wire, so maybe it's covering the wire, but I just don't like the way that looks. Sometimes my OCD, I can't get that to slide. Maybe what I'll do is I'll shrink it and put a little piece of electrical tape on there just to be sure. And then we have our ground wire yet. So we're going to go ahead and slide this down. And of course it's not working because it's stuck on a piece of solder. So I'm going to shrink it and I'm going to wrap it with tape. Not ideal, but at least it has something. So we have these wires done. So what I'm going to do is I have to get electrical tape. I'm going to tape these up, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start tidying this up a little bit. and then we'll see where we're at with the actual hot, what I'm going to call the hot side of the EGT cage, which is where we have to drill the hole and put the probe in the exhaust. All right, guys, so here, I don't know if you can see, we're going to work on the exhaust part. I don't know if you see where I'm pointing. I drilled a pilot hole. I cleaned the rust off, and I drilled a pilot hole where I'm going to put the probe for the EGT gauge. So what I need to do is I have to drill it out. So here's our tap here. It's a 1/8 pipe tap. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to match this up like that, and so you can see. So that this drill bit should make the hole big enough that I can go in there with this tap and cut threads, so that way we can fit. You can see how that's tapered a little bit. Now the other thing you can do is take your tap and lay the fitting on there, and if they mesh up, which it's going to be hard. I don't think I'd be able to show you on here. If you take it and you lay it like that, and then put your, I don't know if you can see how those threads mesh up. They match. Okay, so this here should work for this. So what I'm going to do, since I have the pilot drilled back there, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and drill and tap it out, and then we're going to go ahead and see if that fitting fits. And when I come back, I hopefully will be able to have that fitting in there, and then we can go ahead and hook up all the wiring for the probe, and then we'll check if the gauge works. All right, guys, so I'm back. We got the, I don't know if you can try and get you down there. We got our thermocoupling in. We tapped the hole, and then we put the probe in there and tightened it up. We used some anti-seize compound on the threads, as the instructions had stated to put anti-seize on there, so that's what we did. So that's pre-turbo, as you can see. Now we got our lead here. This is coming from the probe. This piece here is coming from the gauge inside the truck. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up the camera here, and what we're going to do is it's kind of rough. I'm going to tidy this up, but for now we're going to plug this in, however this goes. There we go, like that. So then what we're going to do is double check. Okay, we have that. We have our powers hooked up. We have our probe. We have our gauge right there. So what we're going to do, I think we're ready to give this a test fire. So let me go ahead and okay, so we have our let me turn that down. So there we have our gauge. So we're at about 1,300, 1,400, 1,000, what is that, 150 degrees, 116. So we're gonna go ahead and let it idle. I'm gonna go ahead and check that I got nothing idling into the fan blade here. We got some cleanup to do. We're gonna just check if there's anything. Our probe looks good back there. Let's check our gauge out. Our gauge is reading 180 degrees on there. Like I said, I like the fact that I have an analog reading and I have a digital reading here. I like that a lot. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna end this. So what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna tidy everything up and see what the finished product looks like. All right, guys, here we go. We got our gauge back. We got our gauge in here. We're at 160 degrees exhaust temperature. We're gonna go ahead and give it a little throttle. So there we go, about 2200. Just getting a little throttle, and then when we can watch now, we'll see it's cooling down. So guys, hopefully this will help if you're putting an EGT gauge on your diesel, whether it's Dodge or Ford, Chevy. I learned something with the pre-turbo thing that makes sense when you think about it. So now it's pre-turbo. So now I'd be able to run it up about 1300 degrees safely when I have the trailer on the back. And now it's a more accurate reading. I'm showing here at idle 180 degrees. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing for a ride and see how it is. I'm sure it'll be fine. So hope this helps. Again, that's a Max Tow EGT gauge. We'll see how it works, but so far I like what I see. So anyway, like and subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification, you know when I got some stuff coming up. Anyway, till next time, watch out for each other, take care of each other. We see you next time right here on Big E's. Bye for now.